A very good evening to you and welcome to Idea TV News at 9. I am Cynthia Bassi. We begin with the headlines. President TINUBU nominates MAGNUS, Abe, 20 others to lead NUPRC and NMDPRA board. Russia targets African youth for Ukraine war. JAMB urges candidates to complete profiles ahead of 2026 UTME registration. Amnesty accuses Uganda of torture and mass arrest ahead of elections. Away from Africa, Venezuela crisis, Maduro in New York caught as Trump threatens further action. In business, Nigeria reaffirms strategic trade partnership with China. And in health, NDLEA detains 22 Indians over cocaine ship, makes multiple drug seizures. And in sports, Cameroon to face Morocco in Africa Cup of Nations quarter-final. And now the news in full. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has nominated former Senator Magnus Abe as chairman of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. The president also sent the Senate request for confirmation of 20 other nominees to serve on the boards of the NUPRC and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Abe, who previously served 2 terms in the Senate and held roles with the NNPC and the Great Green Wall Agency, will lead a team including new and returning executive and non-executive commissioners. For the NMDPRA, Tinubu nominated Adegbite Adeniji as chairman, alongside experienced energy professionals to oversee finance, hydrocarbon, gas infrastructure, and corporate services. The nominations follow the Senate's earlier confirmation of the agency's CEOs Oresemi Meyiwa Eyeson for NUPRC and Saidu Aliyu Mohammed for NMDPRA. The Senate is expected to screen the nominees in the coming weeks. The President urged all appointees to perform their duties professionally, highlighting the strategic importance of strong oversight in Nigeria's petroleum sector. Russia is recruiting young Africans, including fighters and female workers, to support its war in Ukraine, according to a new report by the French Institute of International Relations. The study says recruiters use deceptive job and training offers to lure economically vulnerable youth across sub-Saharan Africa. The report states that African men are recruited as fighters, often without knowing they will be sent to frontline combat, while young women are hired through official programs to work in Russia's defense-linked industries, including drone production. Some recruits are promised high pay, residency permits, citizenship benefits the reports say often fail to materialize. IFRI warns the recruitment drive may amount to human trafficking and says African governments have so far taken limited action despite deaths, disappearances, and growing evidence of abuse. Investigations are now underway in countries including Kenya, South Africa, and Botswana. Moving ahead, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has called on candidates intending to sit for the 2026 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination and Direct Entry to begin creating their profiles ahead of the registration exercise. JAMB says candidates must ensure their national identification number details are accurate before profile creation, warning that errors could lead to registration and examination challenges. The board notes that registration could begin at any time and the opportunities for data correction may be limited. The examination body also assured candidates that application fees are unlikely to increase, adding that preparations are underway, including the accreditation of computer-based test centers nationwide to provide or prevent a repeat of technical failures recorded during the 2025 exercise. Amnesty International says Uganda security forces have carried out torture and arbitrary arrest as the country prepares for elections on January 15th, with President Yoweri Museveni seeking to extend his rule of more than 4 decades. The rights group reports that opposition supporters, mainly from the National Unity platform led by Bobby Wine, were beaten, tear-gassed, and detained, with at least 400 arrests documented. Amnesty also cites accounts of pepper spray, tasers, and physical abuse as well as the killing of an opposition supporter at a rally in November. Ugandan authorities denied the allegations and say police actions were unlawful, but concerns remain over rising repression, including fears of a possible internet shutdown similar to the one imposed during the disputed 2021 election. We now go on a quick break. The news continues when we return.
Continuous Threat Exposure Countermeasure, CTEM. CTEM tools enable organizations to continuously monitor and address vulnerabilities in real time. This proactive approach helps businesses stay ahead of cyber threats and comply with security standards. While CTEM systems are improving cybersecurity, managing them can be resource-intensive. Sectors like finance, healthcare, and government are adopting these tools to protect sensitive data.
Good to have you back, and if you're just joining, this is Idea TV News at 9. Now the rest of the news. Away from Africa, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro appeared in a New York court today following his capture by U.S. forces over the weekend in a raid that also detained his wife, Celia Flores. The U.S. has charged the couple with drug trafficking and terrorism, while President Donald Trump warned that further strikes could target Venezuela if the interim government fails to cooperate. Trump signaled plans to involve U.S. oil companies in reviving Venezuela's ailing energy sector, which holds the world's largest crude reserves but has suffered from decades of mismanagement, sanctions, and declining output. U.S. officials are relying on a combination of military pressure, potential airstrikes, and the threat of further intervention to secure access to Venezuelan oil, roads, and infrastructure. On the ground in Venezuela, daily life shows tentative signs of normalcy, though uncertainty remains high. Citizens like Daniel Murillo and Zulia are grappling with political and economic instability as families struggle to secure essentials amid the evolving crisis. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council is expected to discuss the legality of the U.S. operation, with China and Russia raising concerns over the strike. In business news, Nigeria has reaffirmed its commitment to strengthen its strategic trade and economic partnership with China, citing steady progress in bilateral relations throughout 2025. The relationship was elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership following talks between President Bola Ahmed TINUBU and China's President Xi Jinping on September 2024. Officials say cooperation over the past year expanded across infrastructure, trade, investment, technology exchange, and industrial development, helping to align the partnership with Nigeria's economic growth and diversification goals. Nigeria also reiterated its support for the One China principle as the basis of its diplomatic ties with Beijing. Looking ahead to 2026, the federal government says it will focus on more practical, result-driven cooperation aimed at delivering long-term development outcomes and deepening what it describes as a shared future between Nigeria and China. Now in health news, Nigeria's drug agency, the NDLEA, has detained 22 Indian crew members of a merchant vessel after seizing 31.5 kilograms of cocaine at a Papa port in Lagos. The drugs were found aboard the ship MV Aruna Holia, which arrived from the Marshall Islands, with the vessel's captain among those in custody. In a related operation, the agency intercepted consignments of ketamine, ecstasy, tramadol, and cannabis concealed in courier packages and vehicles across several states. In Oyo State, officers arrested a 65-year-old suspected drug kingpin known as Mama Kerosene, linked to more than 200 kilograms of cannabis. Further arrests and seizure were recorded in Borno, Lagos, Jigawa, and Kwara states, including drugs allegedly bound for insurgents. The NDLEA says the operations are part of intensified efforts to disrupt drug trafficking networks nationwide. And finally, in sports, Cameroon will meet host Morocco in the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinal after both teams advanced from the round of 16 on Sunday. The indomitable Lions ended a 7-match winless run against South Africa with a 2-1 victory thanks to goals from Junior Chamedu and Christian Kofen, despite a late strike from Evidence Makbukpa. Earlier, Morocco edged Tanzania 1-0 in front of their home crowd. Brahim Diaz scored the decisive goal in the 64th minute, helping the Atlas Lions control the closing stages and secure their place in the last 8. The quarter-final clash between Cameroon and Morocco is set for Friday, with Morocco aiming for their first continental title in 50 years, while Cameroon carries momentum from another narrow knockout victory. And that's all we have for you on Idea TV News at 9. But before we go, here is a recap of the headlines. We brought to you news that President Bola Ahmed TINUBU nominates Magnus Abe and 20 others to lead NUPRC and NMDPRA board. Russia targets African youth for Ukraine war. And JAMB urges candidates to complete profiles ahead of 2026 UTME registration. AMNESTY accuses Uganda of torture and mass arrests ahead of elections. And away from Africa, Venezuela crisis, Maduro in New York court as Trump threatens further action. And in business, Nigeria reaffirms strategic trade partnership with China. In health, NDLEA detains 22 Indians over cocaine ship, makes multiple drug seizures. And finally, in sports, Cameroon to face Morocco in Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinal. And now do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television. I am Cynthia Bassi. Thank you for watching.